everyone. It's time for reading and drinking with Brittany, quarantine version. I'm stuck at home. I don't have a job right now, and hopefully I can get a lot of writing done and shooting and all of that, but most importantly, drinking. So today's drinking is brought to you by Creature Comforts, one of my favorite breweries, located in Athens, Georgia. This is their Tritonia Goza with, let's see, I think this one has pineapple. Yeah, so tasting notes, pineapple, lemon, salt, coriander. So a Goza is a beer that has been brewed with salt and coriander, and it's salty and sour and my favorite style of beer. That sound is beautiful. I am enjoying this weather. I know it's dreary, but it feels nice outside and the birds are chirping and I need to get any kind of happiness I can right now. So I'm going to sit outside until the sun goes down. So I hope you guys have been keeping up with what Sarah and Shane are up to in my book. Poured way too much head. I'm already out of practice. I haven't had a job for a week. Still so good. So we are on chapter 4. If you haven't listened to the other ones, go back and start with the prologue. Come to chapter 4. Get caught up, and we're just gonna go ahead and get started because I know some of you, aka Linda, have been waiting. So let's do this. Chapter 4 of it's called Sarah's Journey right now. That's just a working title, so we'll see what happens when I'm finished with it and what my heart tells me to name it. If you remember, we are going back and forth in time, so we are back in the present for this chapter. 2 days after her mom's visit, Sarah sat on the same couch staring at her calendar. The newest show at the theater opened in just a week and she had missed so much. She had never missed a tech week in her entire theater career. The board of the theater had been so supportive and allowed her to take as much bereavement leave as she needed. Heck, they even paid her salary while she was away. She knew she was lucky, but making herself get up and go to work was going to be a lot harder than she anticipated. The night before, she had laid out all of her clothes and even packed a healthy lunch for herself to enjoy at her office at the theater. She was even looking forward to seeing everyone and distracting herself with some work. As soon as she opened her eyes that morning, her excitement immediately turned to dread. She dreaded the pity in everyone's eyes. She dreaded the awkward, "How are you holding up?" She dreaded the fact that everyone knew that she was a widow. How could she do it? How could she walk into a room full of people that knew Shane and knew that he was now dead? She couldn't do it, and so instead she sat on her couch and stared at her calendar and mused about all the things that could go wrong without her there. She felt the couch vibrate. Her phone was ringing, but she didn't know where it was. She lifted the pillow next to her and then stood up to check under her butt. The insistent buzzing of the phone was getting louder. She shoved her hand between the cushions of the couch until she felt something hard and cold. She lifted her phone from the depths of the couch and saw Meredith's name on the screen. Meredith was her friend and director of the newest production at the Pegasus Playhouse. Meredith was a fantastic director, but even Sarah guffawed when Meredith suggested they do the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged. It was one of Sarah's favorite shows, but the whole play required 3 actors to portray several characters, and even included a very speedy and backwards version of Hamlet. And Sarah had her doubts about the local acting community being able to handle such a show. In the end, Meredith won, and now they were in Tech Week, and Sarah wasn't there to see how it was going. She swiped the green circle and put the phone up to her ear. "Sarah!" Meredith exclaimed. "I thought you were coming in today. Where are you?" Sarah was both happy and annoyed that Meredith was ignoring the reason why they all knew that Sarah hadn't shown up today. "I'm just tired," Sarah lied. "I was just getting ready to head in, though." She lied again. "Well, the cast has come a long way, and I would love it if you could make it in before our dress rehearsal at 6 tonight. Let this car drive by. I guess that's one of the downsides to filming this outside. Drink break. "Well, the cast has come a long way, and I would love it if you could make it in before our dress rehearsal at 6 tonight. A visit from our fearless leader would be just the extra boost we need." Meredith was always too bubbly. She had a great childhood and was happily married to a beautiful woman named Shelby. When Sarah had first met Shelby, she hated her. She was nothing like Meredith. She had a dry sense of humor, and she just seemed so blah compared to the vivacious and outgoing Meredith. However, the more she got to know her, the more she realized that Shelby was actually really cool, and she grounded Meredith in a way that didn't hold her back, so she was more than honored to serve as matron of honor at their wedding. Meredith had been her rock the first few days after Shane's death. She slept on her couch and made her eat and helped her get dressed for the funeral when Sarah was crumpled on the floor in her closet. Work on the show had kept her away the past week, but Meredith had still found the time to text or call Sarah every day to check in. She did not want to let this woman down now. "Don't worry, I'll be there," Sarah said, and she knew in that moment that she would do everything in her power to get off that couch and get to that theater. Sarah pulled herself off the couch and headed to her room to get dressed. She avoided looking at the right side of the closet when she walked in, because that's where all of Shane's t-shirts were hanging. His jeans neatly folded on the shelves, his shoes lined up on the floor underneath his shirts. The day of his funeral, she had walked in here to get a black dress, but froze when she saw his clothes. His favorite bands, breweries, and cartoon characters on countless t-shirts. She had leaned over and pressed her face into his blue t-shirt with Beavis and Butthead on it, and took a deep breath, searching for his scent. All she smelled was laundry detergent, and the thought of his scent fading away forever broke her. She crumpled to the ground and remained there until Meredith had found her. She had gently sat her up and dressed her and brushed her hair. She even put on her shoes before she helped her off the ground and led her towards the car. That was the last time she had stepped foot in this closet before now, and she had to avoid having a breakdown. She quickly skimmed through her clothes and landed on some jeans, a white t-shirt, and a black blazer. She grabbed a pair of flats and ran out of the closet. As she entered her bedroom, she took a deep breath. She didn't realize she had been holding her breath, but her lungs were well aware of it now as she sat on her bed and gulped for air. She got dressed and walked into the bathroom she had shared with Shane for 7 years. His toothbrush was still sitting in the cup next to hers. His beard oil and razor sat on a little tray next to his sink. She tore her eyes away from those things and focused on herself in the mirror. The dark circles under her eyes were getting slightly better, but it still looked as though she hadn't slept in a week. She opened her drawer and brought out a few makeup products to freshen her face up. She swept her hair into a high ponytail and exited her room. She grabbed her purse and walked toward the front door and stopped like an invisible force field was between her and the doorknob. Time stood still for a moment as she debated crawling back under the covers on the couch. She looked around the empty house, took a deep breath, and opened the door. 20 minutes later, Sarah was walking up the steps at the Pegasus Playhouse and heading towards her office. As she entered her office, she realized that someone had done a little cleaning during her absence. The last time she had been sitting at her desk, she had been reading scripts, eating a sandwich, and drinking a venti coconut milk latte. She had gotten a call from an unknown number. She didn't normally answer those calls because she figured if it was worth a callback, they would leave a voicemail, but for some reason she had answered it. "Mrs. Thompson," an unfamiliar voice said on the other end. "This is she," Sarah had said impatiently, thinking this was a telemarketer. "Hi, this is Janet from Johnson Regional Hospital," the woman hesitated. "We're going to need you to come down here as soon as possible. This is in regards to your husband, Shane Thompson." Sarah stood up. "Is he okay?" She tried to remember when he had last replied to her text. How long had it been since she had talked to him? "The doctor can speak to you when you get here, ma'am." Sarah had hung up, grabbed her purse, and flew out the door. When the doctor arrived, Sarah already knew something bad had happened. As soon as he walked through the door of the family waiting room, she felt a shift in the air. He was tall, with graying brown hair and soft brown eyes. He looked at her, and she felt a knot growing in her throat. "Where is he?" she asked. "When can I see him?" The doctor asked her to sit down, and he sat down next to her. He searched her face and seemed to be analyzing how she was going to respond to whatever he was going to say next. "Your husband was brought in about 2 hours ago after he collapsed on the street outside of Milton's Deli. The paramedics were unable to revive him, and by the time he got here, it was too late. He suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm and was pronounced dead when he arrived at the hospital. I am so sorry for your loss." Sarah stared at the doctor, trying to absorb the words he was saying. She picked up her phone and dialed Shane's number, and it rang and rang and rang until it hit the voicemail. "You've reached Shane. You know what to do." After the beep, she dialed again and again and again until the doctor gently reached out and took the phone from her. Her panic was rising, and it felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. "I don't understand," she said, before she leaned over and vomited all over the doctor's shoes. Sarah sat down at her computer and started checking her emails. A few minutes later, Meredith popped her head into the office. "Hey, you," Meredith beamed as she walked around the desk to envelop Sarah into a big hug. It's so good to see you. This place just isn't the same without you." "It's good to be back," Sarah half lied. She was glad to be back, but the idea of crawling underneath some covers to black out the world forever was very tempting, too. "So how's the show going?" Really great, Meredith plopped down on the couch against the wall. Sam and Jonathan are killing it. I was a little worried about Chris, but he has really come around the last 2 weeks, and I think they are going to kill it on opening night. That's great, Sarah summoned a semblance of excitement, searching her soul for the joy this job used to bring her. I can't wait to see what you guys have tonight. Sorry. You're going to love it, Meredith exclaimed. Her bright mood darkened just a little as she said, "How are you doing?" That question held such a different meaning to Sarah since Shane had died. Normally, if someone asked you that, it was just a courtesy question deserving of a quick admission that you were indeed okay. Now it held more weight, and Sarah knew that for the next few years, that question would hit her like a bullet, slowly ripping its way through her chest. "I'm not great," she shrugged. Sarah didn't want to lie to Meredith. She wouldn't believe the lie anyway. "But I am hanging in there as best I can." Meredith nodded. "Well, I know I've been super busy, but you know that I am here for you whenever you need, day or night." "I know." Sarah allowed the corners of her mouth to curve faintly. Meredith popped off the couch and embraced Sarah again before she scurried out of the room. Sarah could feel the joy radiating from Meredith despite her sympathy. She had to get used to other people's happiness. Just because her happiness was buried 6 feet under the ground doesn't mean that she had to extinguish everyone else's flame. She touched her swollen belly. At 22 weeks, she was starting to show, and she didn't feel any excitement. The baby that she and Shane had created was growing inside of her, and all she felt was sadness. Shane had been so excited when he found out they were expecting a baby. He had cried tears of joy and swept her up in a hug as he twirled her around the room. Shane had been an only child and had big dreams of having several kids. Sarah had been unsure whether she wanted kids or not until she met Shane. His enthusiasm and excitement over being a father had overshadowed any doubt she had felt when she watched the pregnancy test confirm her suspicions. Now she cradled that bump, and it didn't feel like it was a part of her body. It wasn't that she didn't want the baby. She knew that it was a part of her, but she couldn't shake the overwhelming sense that she had no idea what she was doing. How was she supposed to bring Shane's child into the world? I just lost my place. 1 second. How was she supposed to bring Shane's child into the world without Shane? As if on cue, her phone chimed with a reminder of her doctor's appointment on Friday at 2 p.m. She was supposed to find out the sex of the baby, and she wasn't ready to face that experience alone. Meredith would definitely come with her if she asked, but she couldn't bring herself to pose the question. She put her phone face down on the desk and left it there as she wandered down to the stage to check the progress of the set designers as they furiously worked to get things finished before opening night. And that is chapter 4. I hope you can understand that. I had a lot of misspeaks. I don't know why. I should have done unique New York beforehand. And I haven't even had anything to drink except for this. But thanks for listening. I will warn everyone who really likes this series that I won't be reading every chapter of this book out loud, but you will get enough to where you love it, and then when it's published, maybe you'll buy it, which hopefully will be in the next couple months. We'll see what happens. But anyway, cheers. Keep drinking, keep reading, keep being cool.